Hey guys, the old captain here, and we had a speech today, and unfortunately we thought we had the audio perfected, and actually we did. That wasn't until a candidate for Senate, state Senate, was running, and he found out at our table, where we happen to unfortunately have the camcorder sitting at, he found out that there were two delegates sitting at our table, and in the middle of my speech he started coming over and mumbling and talking to them, trying to win their vote like a jackass. So I'll find out who he is later, and we're going to include that in this video. But just so you know, the audio is a little bit annoying at first with him mumbling for the first 2 minutes, but then it goes away and it gets pretty good after. So you can just bear with me and enjoy it. Plus, it's just me introducing myself, and you guys already know me, so you're not missing out on much. Doodles.
Okay, anyway, thank you for showing up. My name's Aaron Clary. I'll tell you a little bit about me, kind of explain why I'm here. My original background is I used to be in banking. I have about a 15-year career in banking. Graduated from the U of M in '97. And had to become an analyst, an economist, and ended up vice president before I got out. And one of the things I did in banking is I predicted the housing bubble before it happened. And I tried to warn people. And they said, you don't have gray hair, go away, you're an idiot, you're a moron, it's never going to happen. And then it did. And the thing is, though, I wrote the book before the crash occurred, and that did not make me popular in banking. So that book, however, did launch me into a secondary kind of career, and that is I've written several other books. I can show you them here later on tonight if you're interested. But they all theme around economics, politics, finance, and specifically predicting bubbles. So I have a book on the housing bubble, the education bubble, retirement, stuff like that. Along with that, the internet came along, and we have things like blogs, YouTube, podcasts, things like that. And so in conjunction with writing, I also got more and more of an online presence where I became kind of what's technically called a micro-internet celebrity, where like radio, I have a podcast and you have listeners on the podcast. And like YouTube, you have a television and you have followers on television. And a blog is like a newspaper and you have readers on the blog. So I got a significant following. And after a while, I ended up answering about an hour a day of questions from different fans or readers or followers and stuff like that. And it became too cumbersome in my day where I'm like, I really appreciate it, but I don't have this much time to spend an hour, hour and a half every morning answering emails. I thought a very clever way to make it go away would to be charging for it. Why is this up here so early? Sorry, look at this. There we go. And I said, clever old me, they'll go away now and finally stop bothering me. And quite the opposite happened, they paid. And this then ended up, I'm not joking, boosting my revenues by about 40%. So I set up a company, and I will not beat around the bush. It is called Asshole Consulting, because that is what I am. I specialize, if you read through my readings and writings and all this, I am blunt, I am direct, and I'm too tired to play politics and be kind and nice. And frankly, I just don't have the life expectancy for it either. So this interesting path through life led me to Jack, wherever Jack went. Oh, there you are. Okay, my buddy Matt introduced me to the group that Jack was telling you about. And they said, hey, we'd like you to come in and talk. You're kind of a younger guy, and we'd like you to we're particularly interested in getting young men exposed to conservative ideas. I say that's very interesting because my company, A-Hole Consulting, the vast majority of my clientele are young men, and they come primarily to me because, frankly, their parents failed them, or society or their teachers failed them. They majored in the wrong subject, they were not told about women, they're on their divorce and they're only 25, all these problems because there has primarily been a lacking male role model in their life. And instead of, well, little Jimmy, you see, girls really like poetries and flowers and puppies. But no, they like muscles, money, and a motorcycle, the 3M son. That's pretty much how it works. So they said, we want to get young men involved. And so I have to apologize in advance because it seems that said youth involved. This is skewed only towards men. And also because of my blunt, crass demeanor, I'm going to be very apologetic to the ladies now. It was made for a locker room, not cursing and swearing, but it was made for a men's club, and it is addressing men. And this doesn't mean we should not try to get young women under 40 involved in politics, but Men and women are different. I don't know if you knew that, and it would require an entirely different presentation, 18 times as long. Anyway, I'm kidding. Not really. No, so it would honestly be about 2 times as long. It would have to be. All right. So this is how to get young men involved. All right. First thing you want to know is how to target market, basic marketing 101. If we look at young men, men under 40, there's only 2 general things that can be said about this large group. One, they are not as politically active as women. Their voter turnout is lower than women of a similar age group. And 2, they typically vote to the left in the political spectrum. Of course, this changes with age. As you get older, you get wiser and you wisen up. But ever so generally, these are the only 2 things we can really say about men under 40. The problem is it's too large of a group. And if we were to take your, quote, average demographic, it's going to be your average 30-year-old male. Net worth of $8,500, salary $42,000, bachelor's degree, married 1 year if. Kids, no. Some other statistics I looked up, $15,000 in credit card debt if they have a mortgage, average mortgage, a first-timer home. So nothing really specific, unique, or interesting about this individual. So to solve that, and to make any kind of efforts effective to getting young men involved in conservatism or having them exposed to these ideas, I broke it down into these 3 subcategories based on different events or stages in their lives. We have what I like to call, affectionately, the brainwashed leftist zombie. Those are your kids or young adults between 16 and 23. They are still in school or somehow dependent on the government, their parents, or alone. Okay? They are not in the real world. Then you have the wandering adults in the desert. This is ages 23 through 30. They are out of college, they have had the support system pulled from beneath them, and no one is kissing their rears anymore. And they're confused about that because they've always had their rears kissed the entire time and they don't know what's happening. So it takes a while for them to learn and adapt to the real world. After some wandering in the desert, they become first-time real-world adults, ages 30 to 40. These people are, oh wow, this is how the real world works. The amount of brainwashing and propaganda they receive has been purged from their system, and they are a little bit more grounded in reality and a little bit more reasonable. Oh, darn it, what'd I do? Can you pull that back up? I hit the wrong button. Okay. Now, how we're going to analyze these groups is we're going to look at 3 kind of categories or topics. One, we're going to profile them, see kind of what they are, who they are, where they are in life. 2, what their primary incentives and concerns are at that point in life. And then 3 is strategies that you can deploy and use on them to get them exposed to conservative, libertarian, or free market ideas. First group is the brainwashed leftist zombie. All right? Young men between ages of 16 and 23. As I mentioned before, they are not adults. They are still living at home, living off of government. Somehow there's some subsidy, somebody is supporting them. They are not out there actually supporting themselves. Some are. I mean, these are categories, these are generalizations. But for the most part, they are relying on some form of money from an outside source. All of them, half of them, come from a broken home, divorce. Typically no father involved, as women usually get possession of children. And even if there is a father involved, that doesn't mean there's a man in the house. Because there's a lot of men who might be present physically only and do not instill masculine virtues, masculine principles, or teach their men how to be men. And simply, well, watch Ray Romano and whatever that show Ray Romano was in. They're also drugged, not cocaine or heroin, although that too, but Ritalin and other over-the-counter prescription drugs. You have ADHD, DDHD, Asperger's. What's the one that I just heard recently? Social anxiety disorder, a paper cut, a splinter, and they pump them full of Ritalin. This is a problem because 16 to 23, your brain is not done developing. So this will have effects later on, as you will see. We talked never supporting themselves. They have never truly been tested. This is the generation where we don't have grades. And I'm not joking. I have a friend who has a little daughter who I like to pick on. And I asked her, oh, how's the grade? She says, fine, which doesn't mean fine. And I said, no, really, what's your GPA? She's like, my what? I'm like, your GPA, what's your GPA? What's a GPA? I mean, what do you mean? GPA A is 4, B is 3, you average it out, what's your GPA? She's like, oh, we don't have grades. I mean, what do you mean you don't have grades? It's pass-fail. Right? We don't get grades until high school. So how do you know if you're good or not? Of course, she's that way anyway now because she's a teenager. But the whole point is there's been no standards. None of these men have been held to a standard. They've never been challenged. We take away scores, participation trophies, things like that. No one's criticized them. No one's provided them constructive criticism. So as far as they're concerned, they're great. They're awesome. They're the best. Even though mathematically you can only have one best. They're also brainwashed. And you can say most educated and brainwashed, but those are pretty much going hand in hand now because pretty much all the K through college system is brainwashing. There is some element of education, no doubt about it, but trust you me, I'm not being conspiratorial when I say that colleges and the K through 12 system have a leftist brainwashing component to them. This is where the Democrats get their lifelong voters. This is their assembly line for future voters. Worse, because they have a piece of paper that says you graduated with your Bachelor's of Arts in English, even though we're in an English-speaking country and we're all fluent in English, and you got a 4.0, you are really smart. And they say, hey, look, I'm smart because I got a 4.0 in something I'm already naturally gifted at. Right? So they have this ego about them that makes them think they're actually smarter than they really are, simply because they attended college or they have participation trophies. The worst, though, even worse than that, is they are crusaderists. In other words, what I mean by crusader, you have a crusade. It is no longer enough, and this was even back in my day when I went to college. You could not graduate with honors. I had a 3.96. One rotten professor gave me an A-. I had a 3.96. I couldn't graduate with honors. Why?
It wasn't a 4.0.
No, it's not that.
Conservative.
No, close though. This is even in the 90s. I did not have enough extracurricular activities, of which you had required amounts of hours to do nonprofit, social work, and all this other stuff. Today, they start them in middle school. Oh, we got anyone my age? I don't think so. Rainforest, you got to help the rainforest, the ozone layer.
How old are you?
40. Any? No? You're 38. Do you remember any of this, like when we were younger, like, we got to save the African, or not the Amazon rainforest? Yeah. And today it's the ozone layer, or you got to go green, or whatever else. So not only do they think they're smart, they're smug and holier than thou. Why, I'm a vegan. Why, I'm a organic person, or whatever else. It is not enough just to get good grades. We need, basically, a substitute for religion. They won't go to church, but they'll go and be pious anyway in other regards. This is the result. We've gone from real men to whatever that is.
Pajama boy.
I know it's pajama boy, but you can't even, that's an insult to boys and pajamas. Whatever that, we've done that in less than 50 years.
Metrosexual.
No, metrosexuals got better taste, in fact. Okay, now the incentives. What incentives every man ever? Pay attention, guy. Over here. What incentives every guy ever? Always. Women. It's true. Genetically programmed that way. Now, you might be predisposed to say, aha, if we get women to join the Tea Party, Libertarian Party, whatever, then the guys will come with, because they like girls and they'll just do whatever they say. This is what we call the bar or the nightclub business model, which I think you kind of got the idea. And this is not a joke. This is 100% true. If you want it, you're laughing. Who's been to Vegas recently? Anyone been to Vegas recently? All right. Why do you think they got that big guy with the muscles and that rope and he's letting all the hot babes in?
Sex sells.
Sex sells. You get the hot girls in there first. This is why you have ladies' night. This is why you have girls drink free night. Because if you get the girls in there, the guys will follow and do what? Spend lots of money. Not even on themselves. They will spend it on them. This is logical, but it is flawed. And I want you to forget this business model because whereas it might be tempting, it is borderline impossible to get young women involved in conservative, libertarian, free market type politics and economics.
I disagree.
Well, good luck. You bring your harem in and show them off in bikinis then. Anyway, at least not in significant numbers. However, women, because they are the #1 primary motivator of men, still will play a vital role in any kind of strategy. So we're not going to be dismissing women, but they're going to get their own whole strategy at these various stages of men's lives. So here are the non-girl, boring, not sexy, fun incentives, right? The primary things young men at this age range are concerned about is their college and education, because that's what they've been told. This is it. This is nirvana for them. This is what they've been preparing for, going through K through 12, and now they're finally there, and this is what life has all culminated to. They're also there, probably even more so, for the college experience. I know a lot of young men, and a lot of young women too, they don't even know why they're going to college. They just know that they want to go to college to get that college experience. So they're doing degree changes, they don't really, undeclare a major. I would almost say this is more of a factor than this one right here. Along with that, this is not cheap, and a lot of them go into debt. And so at the back of their minds, they're not worried about it now because they're having too much fun. At the back of their minds, they're saying, wow, there's a lot of zeros in that document I just signed my life away for. And so they are definitely aware of that. It's just not prominent in their minds. And then also I call it the delusion of their career or chasing their dream. What do all teachers, guidance counselors, and parents without spine tell their children about their futures? You can be anything. Follow your heart and the money will follow. And they actually believe it. And it's delusional. They think if they get a master's in communications, or if they get their degree in art history, don't worry, I'm chasing my dreams and the money will follow. And it doesn't. Right? But you don't tell them that. Because then they get very upset and very angry. But I'm used to that. So that's what is on their minds. Now, what kind of strategies can we deploy? Not a lot, I'm too afraid at this moment in time and at this stage of their lives. Because they are too far gone, they have drank too much of the purple Kool-Aid, their dreams, and they're so brainwashed, and they're still under indoctrination. It's going to be a waste of effort, resources, and time to try and get these type of people. Does that mean we just let the leftists at academia have them? No. No. You switch to this tactic. If you are outgunned or in enemy territory, you switch to guerrilla and sabotage tactics. All right? Now, this requires coming up with very clever, ingenious ideas to kind of do what we can do to cause the enemy as much damage and win over as many people as possible. Now, I was foolish and stupid. I went and talked to my state representative. Thank you. And I presented some of these ideas. Now, you tell me if these ideas might win the Tea Party a little bit of favor with young college-age men. What if we were to ban prerequisite classes in order for you to get your bachelor's degree?
Perfect.
That'd be great. 2 years of school, you just have the cost. They don't learn anything less. They're not learning anything now, taking French, lesbian, Guatemalan poetry studies. Okay? They still get just as much expertise, no debt, and they're out. All it would take is the state legislature and the governor saying, yep, we're all signing off on this. This is an accredited, it takes some other stuff, I looked into it. But that's something you could do. Okay? Do any of you like it when you had to pay $100 for the 39th edition of the college textbook that the professor he himself wrote? Inflation has increased a little bit since I last checked. It's around $300 now. Because the 37th edition, there's so much more that has happened in the English language from this year to the next. Right? All you have to do is go and investigate that. Let's investigate the pay of administrators and chancellors and diversity counselors and all these other people over at college. We'll drag people in from the oil industry and interrogate them, but we won't do this even though young college kids spend way more than they do on tuition and books than they do gas and oil. MOOCs, massive online open enrollment courses, basically online classes you can take like Khan's Academy. What if you were to give them credit if they could take these classes online or anywhere and test out of them and get college credit? How many do you think you might have the ear of some, yeah, we got you, okay. You guys would be okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
Bingo.
So these things, targeting college, targeting what means a lot to these young men, and women too, this would work on women as well. It'd be very helpful. Now, this is a dream of mine. This is more guerrilla tactics. What if you were to go to the college campus over at Dinkytown, there's a big billboard there, and just say, majoring in the liberal arts, your degree is worthless.
Yeah.
What if you were to go to the West Bank campus where the Women's Studies Department is? Have a big billboard up there with a hot chick in a bikini. Says, this is a Republican. And over here, grumpy old dumpy looking woman. This is a feminist studies professor. Shoes. That is too risque. That's too much. And no one in the Republican Party or Tea Party, because I haven't seen it happen yet, has the balls to do that.
I'll do it.
Why get the money? Where's the money? I mean, you're just one guy.
Give me the money, I'll do it.
Well, I don't have money. Anyway, also, you just get rid of the college Republicans, okay? Just get rid of the young conservatives. They're not, I know we love them to death, but I've worked with them. They're pointless, frankly. They're not useful in any regard. What I would like to see, you have an elite squad of saboteurs. You actually pay them, college students, to go in and say, hey, mess up as much stuff as possible. Put a bounty out. Say $50 to any video that any kid, it doesn't have to be this elite squad, can have their professor espousing Marxism, hatred for a group of people, anything. That's going to cause more damage and wreak more havoc at this particular and important junction on the battlefield of politics in college than having a college Republican or the college Tea Party group. Right? Another aspect of college I like is that this is a choke point, and about the only choke point that there is before these young men and women go out into the real world. And even though it's heavily skewed to the left, I like to think of it as kind of the battle of Thermopylae, where if we do it right, we can actually make the left waste what is amounting to $1 trillion a year on education and brainwashing. And the reason we could do this, or the way we could do this, is through what I'd like to think is a vaccination or inoculating young men and women against all the propaganda and brainwashing we have. Now, if you'll forgive me, I brought this not to promote it, but to give you an idea. It doesn't have to be this, but an idea. This is a book I wrote called Worthless. It's the young person's indispensable guide to choosing the right major. It's not that thick. It's, I don't know, 100-some pages. You can read it in a couple hours. It's short, it's sweet, it's direct, and it's, not to brag, succinctly and brilliantly written that it will explain to pretty much any young idealistic 18-year-old why they're making a horrible mistake spending so much money on some kind of worthless degree. Now, like I said, it doesn't have to be this. It could be a little red cookbook, but on the conservative libertarian side of things. But you place this right in Thermopylae, right at the gates, and you start getting this circulated, having young people read it. Also like, wow, the wool from the eyes are lifted. All of a sudden, you've undone $1 trillion a year worth of brainwashing spending. Now, I foolishly, again, I try. I went to the Koch Foundation and said, hey, can I get some funding? Maybe you do some advertising? We'll get back to you. Did they get back to me? No. Anyway, but it doesn't have to be this, but view this more as like a syringe. We can stop polio. We can vaccinate against whatever else, malaria, all this other stuff. If you know someone, if you come up with a book, you come up with some kind of piece of information that you can disseminate into the youth, into the college campuses across the country, you can really turn this into a lopsided one battle for us.
Give it on that move-in date.
What's that?
Give it on that move-in date.
The move-in date?
Move-in date.
Yeah, give it on move. Yeah, there's points you could hit them. Yeah. But you just have to have like 1 million books a year to do it, or and the people to do it. All right. All right. Now, specifically a strategy for girls. At this point in stage, I would not even bother. Again, not only do the young ladies have the brainwashing they received in K through 12, K through college, they also have feminism added on top of it. and trying to convince young women at this age. You'll get some, you will, of course. There's always diamonds in the rough. But they're so far gone, this kind of strategy is not going to work. Again, I'd like, go back to get the hot Republican girl up on the calendar or whatever, or the billboard, and put it right in front of the Women's Studies Department. You're going to get flack, but it's going to be a lot more fun than what we're doing now. Okay, the next stage is the wandering in the desert adults. These guys are 23 to 30, and for the first time, they're adults. They're in the real world. This entire support system of college and education, oh, you're wonderful, you did great, here's your A+, that's pulled out from beneath them. Colleges, universities got all the money and their time and their youth out of them, and now they kick them out into the real world, completely unprepared, completely delusional in terms of what to expect, in terms of compensation, pay, and hours, and all that other stuff. Now, when life doesn't go the way they want, it's going to take a while, but they're going to slowly start to realize they wasted 33% of their finite lives on garbage. They've been lied to, not only 33% of their lives, but almost their entire youth is gone. And they're going to get very, very angry, and they're going to get very, very depressed. Does anyone know a kid who's graduated from college and is having a hard time finding a job, has a ton of debt, and can't... Right, okay? These guys are like, what happened? I was supposed to get my $120,000 a year job helping the orphans at the UN, and it doesn't happen. Now, one of two things is going to happen here. They're either going to acknowledge they were lied to, this is where a little bit of humility comes in, or they're going to double down. And if they're going to double down, then you have a lifelong leftist on your hand. They majored in political science, they're going to go get their law degree or their doctorate in political science. They're never going to say, I have to change action or something. There's something wrong. It's George Bush, it's the Republicans, it's white males, it's Save the Whales, it's whatever it is, they'll blame it on. It won't be them. Okay? These people can be saved. Those guys are going to become your enemies down the road. So what are the incentives that affect this age of men? Girls! It always will, but we'll get to those later. But more than anything else, an explanation about why they're not having success in two key categories, career and girls. Right? The career we understand. And again, we're kind of, the age range is, I think, going to be a little bit different here. But just as young men are not going to have success in their careers, they're not going to have the success they were promised with girls. Why?
No money.
Well, okay, all right. You can still challenge, if you learn how to salsa dance, ride a motorcycle, you can still pull it off. They were given the wrong information about what women wanted. What were these young men told? Maybe not you guys, maybe there's still an element of truth.
Poetry, flowers.
Poetry, flowers. Remember sensitive 90s guys? That's the BS they fed my generation. Like, oh, I don't have to lift weights, I just have to be a nice guy? Okay, yeah, I can do that. You like video games? Be honest with her. Yes, I like video games. Played 4 hours, it didn't work. Okay? And now they're going to say, hey, not only is my career not working, the most important thing in my life that I'm programmed to like is not working either. Right? So they just want the truth about, like, what's going on? Why isn't this working? They will have the fact that now they have to start paying back that student loans now that it's coming due, so that's going to be a very pressing matter. Their employment, whether they are not employed or underemployed, not to mention they can be accurately employed for their level, but in their mind they think that they should be doing much better. And they'll feel bad about themselves, like, gosh, I thought I'd be so much better. It's like, no, all jobs suck, don't worry about it, you're doing fine. But they don't know that. Regardless, they don't have a lot of money coming in to either support themselves and pay back the student loans, or heaven forbid if they bought a brand new car, which I know a lot of young men my age, when they graduated, did that. As they go through the stage, they're going to start to try to come up with a plan B, because plan A is not working. And so they're going to restructure, reorganize their lives. Okay, do I have to go back to college? Maybe I go to trade school. I got to cut my budget. I thought I have a McMansion over in Lake Minnetonka. Now I'm going to have to settle for a flat over in Longfellow or Fridley. No, I like Fridley. Well, my grandpa used to be a pastor out there. So. Then also, since they were doing everything they were told to do, for the first time in their lives, they're going to say, screw that, I'm going to do what I want. And now they will start picking up hobbies. They'll brew beer, they'll pick up mountain climbing. If they have the money, they'll whatever it is that, fishing, killing deer, they'll do that. So, strategies. How do we capitalize on this? It's very simple. Tell them the truth. Right now, this is like striking when the iron is hot. They're actually going to listen now. When they were 16, oh yeah, Dad, screw you. And they'd play the music really loud and there was no getting through to them. Now that life is not going the way they want, you can actually come in and say, hey, here's how it works in the real world. This is why it's happening. You're going to provide them something nobody else has, and that is sanity. You won't be able to solve their problems. You won't be able to pay off their debts, but you will be able to provide them sanity and kind of the beginnings of a roadmap out of that situation and on the way to success. So, just simply the truth, but the question is how you deliver the message. And there are basically two ways. One, it is not going to be the Republican Party. The Republican Party just says, are you a college Republican? Here, hand these out. Thanks for the free labor, bye. That's the college Republicans. Okay? You can convey this message either through your own personal social network, you have a nephew, grandson, any young men in your life. You can go ahead and explain that. On Facebook, on Twitter, if any of you are on the internet. The other way is through the internet, and that's primarily going to be the way you're going to spread the word. Why? That's where the kids are. Yeah, you don't go to a Lawrence Welk concert to look at the youngins. So, the internet has already been forming and evolutionizing, it's been changing and adapting to account for this. Has anyone heard of the manosphere? Raise your hand. One person. Well, you've already, because you heard this lesson before. Okay. And I apologize, but this is important because this is about the only vehicle by which that is out there directly addressing getting young men interested in conservative or traditional values. You had basically the wisdom of the World War II generation. Men came back, suffered, endured. I think we optimized it there. What happened in the 60s? Baby boomers took it, pardon the French, shat on it, threw it out, says, we got something better. And they plopped it on, and they added feminism to it. Then what happened? Yeah, peace, love, and happiness. And divorce became an Olympic event in the 70s. Right? You had my generation, Gen X, come along, and the millennials as well being brought up under this new, awesome system. Right? How successful has it been? Horrible. Economic growth is about half of what it used to be in the 50s. Our debt is as high as it is relative to GDP since World War II, and we're really technically at peace. Right? Every social metric, which I don't have to go through, every economic metric, is pretty bad. So what ends up happening, here you're a young boy, not young boy, a young man. What are you interested in? Girls. You're following the advice of who?
Girls.
Who are? Why only your mom?
Because Dad's gone.
Dad's gone or divorced in about 75% of the cases. So you're raised in a skewed, effeminate thing. Oh, girls like flowers, puppies, and all that other stuff. And you fail miserably. Now enter in the mid to late 90s, what? This happened. This is interesting. Here I am, 1992. I can't figure out girls. Whose fault is it?
It was in elementary school.
No, well, you were in elementary school. 1992, if a girl didn't go out with you, whose fault was it? No, it's yours. Well, yeah, there's something wrong with me. Oh, I did something wrong. Girl stands you up, your fault. What if 70% of the women who said yes to a date stand you up? Whose fault is it? Still your fault. Now you have the internet, and now you start comparing notes. Bill, over in Rio Linda, California, yeah, the girls here in Minneapolis, they're weird. Like, they'll stand you up 70% of the time, even though they said yes to a date. What does Bill say, who's all the way in California? That's funny. I thought it was only in Rio Linda. Then you talk to Steve up in Seattle. What does Steve say?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing. And you start to realize, wait a minute. Maybe it's not us. And so what has slowly evolved over the course of 10, 15 years is this thing called the manosphere. And it is old Gen X guys like me, older brother types, after we've gone through trial and tribulation, comparing notes and reconstituting all the lessons that we learned in terms of career, finance, education, and everything that should have been taught to us in the first place and is not conveyed to young men today. And now, this is why Asshole Consulting is actually quite successful, because these young boys are looking for who?
Girl, father.
They're looking for a father. Girls is not the only topic. They're like, well, how come I didn't find a job with this? What do I got to do? Every aspect of life management, girls of course being one of them, a very important one, but that's why this sub-segment of the internet has formed. Right? So this is already the vehicle that's there. If you want to, certainly you can help your sons, but there are tons of books, there are tons of websites. I will not lie to you. If you think I am rough around the edges, this is a veritable locker room. Right? It is. And you will see skewed. There's dark elements that I disagree with. And then there's also some very good ones that you'll find. There's Christian websites. Dalrock is a perfect example. Wintry Night is another. So a system is already in place. It might pay you to spend some time to go and research it. Have a bottle of whiskey on hand and explore that area. And if you find something you like, send it to your loved one who happens to be a younger man, or girls. It doesn't matter. The information will benefit both. Now, one key thing to understand about this is not going to make the loved one in your life, the young man, join the Tea Party or the Republican Party or any party. It is, however, again, going to give him the gift of sanity. And that is going to have, you'll be endeared to him or entrusted. You'll gain his trust and make him more receptive to any other kind of wisdom that you might have, which inevitably, and is very interwoven into, quote the manosphere, is conservative, traditional politics, libertarian, free markets, entrepreneurship, stuff like that. Girls, would you guys like to hear my truck story? Okay, I was 25, and then 70% of the time, what happens? No, you say you got a date, but then you call, and 2 hours before the date, I call up, I forget her name, Amy, I get the voicemail. What happens 2 hours later when we're supposed to go out?
Voicemail again?
No, you never call. You call once, otherwise you become a stalker. See, those are the rules. That's manosphere wisdom right there. You call once, you call twice, you're a stalker. That's you play cool like the Fonz. That's it. So yeah, you don't get a call back, get stood up. Now I was young and stupid, and so I was just really down and out. And I called my mom. I'm like, my gosh, I think it was something cool. Like I had tickets to Victor Borga or something. I had this is cool. I didn't know what he was, but okay. So I say, I just don't get this. This is rude. It's unacceptable. I know empirically this is what it has been, but this is unacceptable behavior. I would never do that. Now, my mom then says, well, she could be sick. She could be in the hospital. And I swear, she said she could have gotten hit by a truck. And there was no inflection in her voice to indicate she was joking or snickering on the other line. She honestly tried to tell me there was a statistical chance this girl got hit by a truck. And I was kind of like, I suppose so. And then... Now, did this accurately assess the true problem?
No.
What was the problem?
You.
Right. Whatever was wrong, it could be short, skinny, girl didn't like me, whatever, there was something wrong with me. Instead, my mother, in an attempt to make me feel better, tried to deflect any kind of criticism so my feelings might be spared. Does that help in the long run, though?
No.
No. What did I need to be told, or what does every young man need to be told?
The truth.
Which is, hit the gym, diet. Do you have more money? Something, anything. What you're doing is wrong. You need your dad or a good, blunt friend to come in and say, oh yeah, you were ugly, but we never told you. You got to get a haircut. You stink. And we just kept saying she got hit by a truck. That's all. We thought you'd fall for that one all the time. So this gets back to the whole truth thing. All right, women are very important in men's life, and you don't help them by sparing their feelings. It may feel better in the short term, but if you you got an ugly, nerdy nephew, and you know this type that we're talking, and he plays Dungeons and Dragons, he's got hair down here and a ponytail, it's like, hey, come here. You are going on a diet, okay? You're putting the video games away, and that's what true love is. It's tough love. There's plenty of soft love, cake, oh yeah, we love you, you're great the way you are, but there's not enough tough fatherly love, and that's what you need to do, all right? So you got to tell the truth to the young men. Finally, then we have the first-time real-world adults, young men. Take a look at their profile. 30 to 40. They've learned from their mistakes. Plan B is in action, and they're starting to make some progress. Okay? They are very interested in making up for lost time because they've essentially wasted their youth on a bunch of lies. They're also very fatigued. School wasn't fun. I don't know if anyone really enjoyed school either at the K through 12 or the collegiate level. It was not enjoyable. And then going through poverty and sleeping on couches, saying, well, shouldn't I have a white picket fence and a family by now? No, you got to pay off this $80,000 in student loans. That is somewhat fatiguing. And they're very still angry, distrustful. One would even say rage. And what they've done is adapted. Not all of them, but a lot of them will adapt to a different standard of lifestyle that they want. They no longer want that house on Lake Minnetonka. They want this nice little single-family home out in, I don't know, Hamel. Some small. Although Hamel's getting pretty big. Where are we? So they are pretty much scarred from the previous element of poverty, so they are merely focused on survival. Their budgeting skills are much better, and they can start thinking about, maybe saving a little bit for the house or retirement. They're also going to be very fatigued about dating for women. I hate to sound like I hate women. I do not. I love them very much. I've just dated a lot of them. And in the end, once you compare the notes, you find out, oh, good, I wasn't insane because I thought I just had horrendously bad luck, right? So they will start to reprioritize their life. They're not going out to the nightclubs anymore, okay? They're not going to go to the bar. They might, I don't know, pick up a wood whittling class. They might, pick up a salsa class or something. But they're not going out nightclubbing anymore. They're a little bit reluctant on marriage, not just because they may not have the finances for it, but because they either saw their dad or some of their earlier friends who got married get divorced, or they just read the news and kind of like, a little on that. Also because children are expensive, they'll be a little bit reluctant to pull the trigger there as well. Finally, they have enough time to go to say, why was I lied to? Why wasn't the life the way I was told to me to be? So they're going to start paying attention to politics, making them a little bit more prone to join. Instead of girls, as always, we'll get to that. Stability, they just want to be happy. They don't want to be rich, they just want to be comfortable. Okay? Their careers, they've clawed and fought for, and now they have this job they can finally hold on to, it's paying. They're going to focus on that. They're going to want to make up for lost time. They're going to have their hobbies. They'll probably do a little bit of road tripping, or maybe they'll go to Europe or whatever, having fun. And again, as I mentioned before, they're going to probably have a little bit of extra cash. If they don't already have children, if they are single and they haven't made any mistakes, they will start to have money. They'll say, okay, maybe I'll start saving up for retirement, maybe get a little house or a condo or something. The other thing is they'd like to marry, but they can't find a quality girl. Number one reason, this will get to the final, what's the number one reason men 30 to 40 can't find a quality girl? And this, the sources I'm citing are my clients and the friends and people that I've had, friends of mine between the ages of 30 and 40.
They're in the Merchant Marine.
No, they're not in the Merchant Marines. That is the last reason.
The good girls are married, and the rest of them took girls' studies, women's studies.
No, the single girls. These are single girls.
Single girls.
There's single girls out there too. It's the number. It's like, hey, here's this girl, and then, I'd like to, but
Something wrong with the guy.
no. There could be that too.
Too high a standards.
No. Come on, the girl's like 30, same age range.
He's not smart enough.
No. What always comes with a girl who's 30 plus years old?
They get kids.
Some other guy's kids. That's the number one complaint. And then it's like, whoa, hang on. I can barely support myself. What is this? So anyway, so that's kind of what's on their minds right now. They're kind of looking towards marriage like, okay, we're finally making some traction here, but there's landmines all over the place. So the strategy. They're kind of ripe for the taking at this point in time. All you got to do is really reach out to them. But I've never seen, I went to the bathroom over there, sitting in the urinal. What's right there? What do I see?
Bricks.
Advertising for, come to Bob's Burgers and get some wings and beer and watch the game. And G.B. Layton, who I thought was dead, but let's just say he's not anyway. And yeah, he's playing here again over at Bunkers. Have I ever once seen, hey, cigars and poker hosted by the local tea party? Have you ever had that? Scotch tasting. The ice fishing out. Have a competition. Something fun. Get them out because they are looking for other stuff. And they don't want to go to the bar anymore. They don't want to go to the nightclubs. So they're going to look for something a little bit more cerebral, something a little bit more intelligent. So simple, at this point, it could almost be like a business marketing model. Just, okay, we find out where boys are. Okay, I still like my politically incorrect billboards. I think that would still be awesome. But the internet, we already talked about, mastery of social media and all that. But it does not have to be the internet with a political or some kind of ideological angle to it. Barstool Sports, that's just sports. The Art of Manliness, it's actually kind of a cool thing. They teach you about, like, you know, how to trim your beard perfectly. There's really manly stuff going on at that site. The Chive, not exactly super high intelligent, but there are plenty of websites out there that have advertising that you could go ahead and throw some kind of advertising up there for. Strategy for the girls. And this is where you're going to hit it out of the park. I'll ask one question. What is man's agency and purpose in life?
Procreate.
With who? Women. And what happens with two boy-girl meet? Something usually happens. Children. Their family. The number one thing in a man's life is a woman, and if they have kids, their kids. Wife and kids. Who is in direct competition with that now? The government. Traditionally, it was the man that, you know, we can argue whether this is the appropriate role or not. That's not what I'm debating. I'm saying for 2 million years of human evolution, it was the guy that did this role, and the women would stay at home and take care of the kids. So now, the guy has to compete against a government that can provide this base level of income. Anyone see The Life of Julia? That marketing campaign? Well, yeah, Julia's taken care of the entire time. She really doesn't need a man. So what do you have to be in order to get a girl now? Really rich, really ripped, and you got to have 3 motorcycles and preferably your own personal F-16 fighter plane sitting over at Flying Cloud Airport. And when you can show men that their point and purpose in life has been taken away from them because the government is essentially making them obsolete. Now, of course, you can't tell this to a 23-year-old. The 23-year-old still party, yeah, lots of sex with lots of girls and video games. Not again towards about 30. After the guy's gone through the desert a little bit, does he start, well, what is the meaning of life? Why am I here? God, yeah, I did date a fair amount of women. It was painful, but I remember that really nice girl. Where's she? Oh, she got married, had kids. Dang. And then it kind of the light goes on. We smarten up inevitably, ladies. And we say, oh my gosh, that's what it is. And now there's a $4 trillion agency that has way more resources and financing than we do. That's kind of, you know, kicking us out of this market and this competition. So when you can show young men, 30 to 40, that their life is being taken away from them by the government, that will really light a fire underneath their bum. Problems. The Republican Party is not capable of doing this. The Republican Party would never have me talk or have me as a consultant because I might have used a naughty word. And I actually recommended strategies that required some gall and a spine. Right? They're a political party first and foremost. Right? The problem is we do need, this can't be done on an individual level. Some entity, some organization has to do it. Like, you know, you and I would love to go and if I had $1 billion, I'd be doing billboards all over the place. And if I ever do get $1 billion, you'll know I have $1 billion because you'll see some interesting billboards driving down the highway. But as an individual, typically, we do not have the money. So we're going to need some kind of organization. You're also going to need an organization that has some courage and a spine. And that is not the modern-day Republican Party. Tea Party, of course, a little bit more. But again, financing, of course, is probably an issue. Another thing, is this even feasible in today's United States? Has anyone paid attention to this last week of the craziness that was going on in the college universities?
Yeah.
It makes like Poland, we got horses, here come the Germans with their Panzer Mark VI, like, maybe we should surrender. Now let's charge them anyway. I mean, after a while you gotta ask, is this even possible? And I've seen enough economic data and done enough demographic research. I frankly don't think it is. That's why I wrote a book called Enjoy the Decline. Because I'm sorry. Well, you laugh, but at night you're kind of like, oh, what are we going to do? But anyway. And then finally, does the American public deserve this? I mean,
No.
well, see, and think about it. Is this really worth your time? You only got a certain amount of time on this planet. You could go ahead and try and save the world and have some young punk kid, hey, screw you, old man, you fascist Nazi. I'm gonna smoke Bernie Sanders. Yeah, all right. Why try and bother with that? Say you got to have loved ones. You got to have sons, daughters, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, cousins that are younger. I would recommend saving those who are near and dear to your heart and kind of teach them the skills that's going to make their lives a lot easier or less difficult than they would be, especially in a worsening environment, than trying to go and save the world. Certainly, run candidates and whatever else. But when it comes to actions within close to home, within your own microenvironment, please consider your loved ones first before you go and try and save. I'm trying to pick of somebody. Anyone know Anita Sarkeesian? No. Before you save any one of these morons, take care of those close and near and dear to your heart. That's the end. And here's all my stuff. If you're interested, I got a couple books you can look at. Jack says, hey, can you bring a couple books? I'm like, no, I just have a couple here on hand. So, and if you had any questions, feel free to ask.
I'll grab the other mic real quick.
If you want to get a hold of me, simply just search my name, Aaron Clary. And if you can't remember my name, I think you can remember Asshole Consulting. You will find me. And I'm not joking. I mean, I know it's crass, but you'll find me. But jot this information down. Just Google search it. You'll find me. No problem.
Is that the website, Asshole Consulting?
AssholeConsulting.com. Yep.
Just so you know, we don't have cigars, but we do have beer and bullets in the summer.
That's awesome.
And we have a blast. Ashley, raise your hand if you got a question. It's about time. Took you long enough.
Want to trade books?
Yeah, I'll trade, yeah. As long as it's not my proof copy, yeah.
Yeah. I'm coming over, Dale.
As the public, we get all kinds of requests for funding and so forth. One request for a phone call, I think it is a group called the College Republicans. Is that for real, or is that probably a left-wing phony organization?
College Republicans are real. Yeah, no, the College Republicans are real. I mean, anyone can call and say they're College Republicans, but I mean, it's a real organization, yeah.
We've actually had some very active, good college Republicans. Danny Sermon, if you remember him, Adam Motzkow, Rudy Takala, I'll forget. And some of them write in him. And they've written in our magazines and participate. And they struggle. And we had little places on many campuses. And boy, when I heard this the first time, I go, wow, there's some powerful answers here. How do you break the book cartel? Because you can't go and electronically copy something that's copyrighted. So how does the college keep these? I mean, I know how they do it with a law. How can you break that cartel down so kids are just not paying that $300, $400, $500, $700 for these?
Well, you need the government to go in and intervene. You have to have an investigation of some kind, or have some kind of law passed like, hey, you guys can't, scam these poor kids for this amount of money.
So that would be suggesting that Jack Rogers call Kurt Doubt for help?
Good luck with that.
I am his mortal enemy, I think.
I mean, a lot of the kids are already doing it. They're going on the internet. They'll scan a book in, PDF it, and then people just get on the internet. And that's one way to break it. But I mean, if you wanted to, then there's no one to say, look, the Tea Party candidate did this or recommended this. If it's just some kid on the internet who scanned in a book and then sold it for cents on the dollars, no one hears about it. But if you get a candidate that says, I'm in for auditing the University of Minnesota system for this book racket, then you get notification and loyalty from the students. Yeah.
I have two sons, one is 30 and one is 28, and they've listened to the mama on her soapbox for years and years, and like you said, they in one ear and out the other, and they're not going to join the party. But it's interesting, as they're at this stage, they're kind of in the 30 to 40 group that you're talking about, and they're listening to the podcast, Adam Carolla and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
Joe
stuff.
Rogan and all those guys. Yeah,
exactly,
there you go.
exactly. So now I'm gonna say, hey, why don't you check out your podcast too? But it is making sense. They are coming along only in a little different format than we did back in the days.
Right, it's not called The Republican Show. It's called Adam Carolla, but he espouses conservative ideas. Right, it's sneaky.
Yeah, and it's crazy to hear them saying, oh, the same thing that they've heard come out of the mom's mouth. Well, it's different when it's coming out of their mouth. So.
Different messenger.
Am I missing anybody? I'm coming back there. They laid the tables out kind of rough for me to jog here. I'll be there.
Yes. Have you ever thought of old people taking classes like at the University of Minnesota? I've seen several times that there's like activist training classes and so forth, and just what they call community outreach classes. And I've been tempted personally, showing up, to some of the training just to be the mean guy in the room. But anyway, it's just one thought I've had.
Yeah, but is it worth your time going all the way down there, paying the tuition, paying for parking? I mean, you wouldn't stop them. These people are idealized, especially at that age. I mean, I think some of you have heard it. Was it Lion Tech? They had the weapons manufacturer, the ammo manufacturer. They had like all these retirees, these seniors. I don't know if they pulled them up from Woodstock or what, but they were protesting. And you got to look. It's like, don't you have grandchildren? Do you not have a life? So go fish with your grandson, and just be happy. I mean, I'm not saying this to make you feel better. Be happy. These morons are wasting their lives going to the University of Minnesota, paying, lowering the purchasing power, lowering their standards of living. Also, they can go hold a sign. Not to offend anyone here who might be from the 60s. Didn't you guys do that without college classes? Didn't you kind of know to hold the sign without having to get a master's in protest? I mean, so yeah, just, if you got a wife, yeah, go have sex with her. That's what I do. That's what I do.
Hey, when I think of an asshole, I'm going to think of you. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And I have a question, though. Like you said about the Republicans, yeah, they're a little kind of milquetoast and limp-wristed sometimes, but they try, and I give them credit for that. What do you think about other up-and-coming groups like Young American for Liberty and that, who actually may make a difference, or CFACT and some of those?
They're more organized, but it's been almost 8 years since I've had anything to do with them. Not like, I'll have nothing to do, but like I've interacted with them. Yeah. And they, like CFAC did have, like Bill Gillis, I think, is part of that group. They tend to have a little bit better organization, but it's still this, it's like, gee willikers, Wally, let's go fight those liberal people on campus, and then they just get slaughtered because the left is just meaner and badder, and they're willing to throw more punches. This is why I recommend, you get a guerrilla operation, you get a bunch of saboteurs, and you kind of you try the inoculation route or sabotage, but you don't go in there and, hey, we think low taxes are great, and it just isn't going to work. Unless you can get his, wherever he went with his harem of hot women, to go and convince the men otherwise, it's just not going to happen.
Let's give Aaron a hand. What a great presentation. Somebody that actually educated us tonight. Thank you very much, Aaron.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So happy to pick up your phone. Thank you.